Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the first edition of Book Club, the first volume. And yeah, I guess currently I'm going to be discussing the first chapter of the book that I've been working on, Unleash Your Inner Sigma Male. And I've been, like I said, promised I would get this started, this book club, and we're going to be meeting weekly. Um, Let me get everything set up here in the studio. Um, I've got locals here, so you guys can make comments. I'll correspond. I'm going to lecture first. Um, and one thing, remember, we're going to be meeting for an additional book club. So this is the first edition. So we're doing masterclass, first chapter of the book, and I'm hoping to get another expert on that will basically help me break this down. Alex Huxley's Brave New World. And for those that wish to join that, it's going to be supporters exclusive for the T Club. And yeah, you can sign up right now. Rumble 3 gets you $3 off your first month's membership. And we're going to be going over, like I said, Brave New World, Alex or Huxley's Brave New World. And we'll do a deep dive, break it down, how it relates to current events and historical context. And that book has been published. It's been posted in the locals channel, as well as the Unleash Your Inner Sigma Male. I think I posted the first 3 chapters, and we're going over the first chapter today. So this one's free for everybody, so you guys can see what this setup is going to be like for the masterclass, i.e., book club. And I guess we'll get into it. So let me move that. Hold on. There we go. All right. I'll come back up on here on screen. All right. So first, starting off today's masterclass, book club volume 1. So today's masterclass is on the Sigma Advantage, the silent strength in a noisy world. Where this is a sales and marketing masterclass that I promised I would do, and I guess I'll get into it. So the problem with modern leadership and sales today that I find from being a practitioner as well as a theorist, as a lecturer in this particular subject, most leaders are loud. You guys can see this in the business world. A lot of sales guys, executives, even management. They're exceptionally loud, typically arrogant, egotistical. You name it. The fake alpha, the Andrew Tate type. And I mean, yeah, they're successful to an extent, but at the same time, they're not overly accepted. So most salespeople, they obviously talk too much, and as we know with the Sigma leadership style, based in Stoic teachings, it's best to be quiet confidence, I guess is the word to use in this context. But basically, the reason why most organizations fail is not from a lack of effort, but from a lack of alignment. And this is very, very critical in the overall success of organizations as well as individuality. So, individual sales, building teams, things in that nature. Core concept here is that in a world of noise, ego, and reactions, as I broke down in the introduction, the Sigma leader wins through clarity, discipline, and systems. This is from the book. So today we're going to go over leading without noise, selling without pressure, and building systems that outperform personalities. I mean, first of all, like in the first chapter of the book, hold on one second. Let me get my slide. There we go. There you go. So these are the contents of today. We're going to discuss the problem, what Sigma leadership is, Sigma sales philosophy, DMAIC in sales, case study, Blockbuster versus Netflix, Sigma leader equals system architects, leadership comparison, key takeaways, and then our final thoughts or discussion. We're going to do a seminar at the end of the lecture. Let me get into this. And like I said, this is the first masterclass. So if I'm a little disorganized, I apologize ahead of time. All right, let's go to my next slide. All right, so before we get into the problem, I just want to break down what exactly is a Sigma leader. And if you've read the book already, you kind of have a good take or good understanding of this concept or this leadership style. So the core traits of a Sigma leader is they're self-aware, they're consistent, they're authentic, and they execute calm execution under pressure. So they lead through level-headed leadership. So they're good crisis managers. If you've read the book so far, you've got it. You got that out of it. So Sigma leaders are not attention driven. They're not necessarily reactive. They're not emotionally driven. Which in sales, emotions is kind of you create motion to create emotion. But generally, the type of sales that I'm teaching you is not one bam, thank you, ma'am type sales motivation. You're looking to build client relationships, and the best way to build client relationship is through authenticity. So, like I said, Sigma leaders are not reactive and they're not dependent on validation. So they're not ego based. Like a lot of your alpha type sales guys that you see, and like a lot of team leaders tend to be alpha, and they're very much dependent on validation they get from their followers or clients or the corporation organizations or just in general. So they feed off that validation, and when that validation doesn't come in, they start getting emotionally weak. They get depressed and they lash out. So that's why like high pressure sales tend to be very 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 bad for your overall health and the longevity of your organization or your business, your small business, or whatever you're doing, or what are you going to get out of this, so to speak. So basically, Sigma leaders are data driven, they're process orientated, and they quietly dominate through results. They create results. They're consistent, so consistency equals results over time. Key concepts here: personal mastery. Let me go back to the previous slide because that'll give you kind of a background. Because I'm 1 second. There you go. All right. So key concepts here: personal mastery. What is personal mastery? It's continuous self improvement. It's deep thinking before action. So you're actually thinking things through. You're taking the time to pause. You're not reacting to emotions. You're looking level headed in any type of strategic approach, that be business strategy, leadership strategy, marketing strategy, any type of strategy. You're confident going in because you've thought out the game plan, you thought out your strategy, and you just implement it basically. Above all, personal mastery is learning through observation and experience. And this is a lot of times, like I said, because Sigma leaders are not necessarily born that way. I mean, they become Sigma leaders through overcoming adversity, and they become Sigma leaders through observation and experiencing things. So they're very well experienced, very knowledgeable, and they're very level headed. And not only that, but they're just consistent because they're confident in what they're doing because they're knowledgeable and they have the experience. And they're very like I said, that quiet confidence. So they're very quiet in their approach on things. They observe everything. They observe people. They observe systems, and that's what builds that confidence. So this being like anything from sales, and like I said, what you're going to get from this is not only from sales, but this is relationships. This is just life in general. What you're going to get from this masterclass, you're going to learn how to basically be calm, collective, approach your strategy with confidence and knowledge and experience that has been proven, and then make those adjustments as you go on through the process. So in sales, in particular, you basically don't chase customers, right? Think about the women's, right? what is the key here with dating and with relationships? You don't chase. That's what all these red pill, all these influencers, all these dating coaches, all these self-help gurus, they all say the same thing. They said, don't chase, right? You don't want to chase the sale. You don't want to chase the money. You don't want to chase, you know, opportunities there, but you don't have to chase it. Opportunity comes through hard work, discipline, consistency, and personal mastery. So, in sales, you have to understand people. You have to understand systems. You have to understand the nature, the psychology of people, women especially. And that way you don't underestimate yourself and your situation. You're observing. It's situational awareness. It's at its peak. All right, let's get into the next slide here. So we first off we have the problem. So modern leadership is loud, reactive, misaligned. Sales is often pushy and short term. Results, inefficiency, and missed opportunities. Like I said, we're not. I get my live chat up. See if I've got anybody posting. No. All right. So yeah, first of all, I got a lot of windows up too, by the way, guys. First of all, like I said before at the beginning of the masterclass, you see these alpha like sales guys, and they're very pushy, they're very repetitive, and they're very aggressive. And they may be able to get sales, definitely. But what you find is that your top salespeople, your top, customer service people, as well as just successful people in general, what you will find is that they're consistent, but they're more of like an educator. So they try to educate and inform clients, and then through that information, they start surveying, and these surveys are active listening for details, trying to put a list of things that qualify. And like I said, understand this word qualify. So you're qualifying the potential customer, the new person you meet. And you may not even talk, when you're looking at prospective customer, you may not even talk about what you're trying to sell them or what kind of service or anything that you're trying to do. You're just trying to build a conversation. That's it. So I'll give you an example. Let's say that you are at a seminar, or like let's say you're at like a what are those called, convention, and you just some kind of springed up conversation about I don't know, like your kid just is just joined soccer. You start talking about soccer, but you don't have anything to do with soccer. You're selling like plumbing materials or something. um, and then the person that you're having a conversation with, they're like, yeah, yeah, I like soccer, like my kid's in soccer too. And then you get in that conversation, and through that conversation you're listening for active details. And like they may say, like, let's say they're business to business, a B2B potential client. They happen to have a contact, like another client that they have that owns a retail store. And through that conversation, you're like, you have a contact and like that sells retail. I sell plumbing materials for a living. Can you introduce me to them? Because you already built that rapport, so you're already building that friendship, and then they're going to network and give you that person's information, even meet you and introduce you to them. So you've already got an end to a potential client. This person's your contact. You know what I mean? And you've built that relationship, and you keep in contact, and then they are friends with this person. They have a business, relationship with them. So now you're getting involved into this new friendship, new relationship that you all can benefit from. And you did that through just active listening and then a simple conversation. ABCs always be closing. Now, the ABCs are basically building networks and conversations and getting to know people. And through those conversations, you eventually build relationships, and those relationships generally lead to potential business opportunities and sales. That's the best way I can describe it. That's my experience. It's what I've done through my years, getting jobs, building stronger relationships, stronger networks, is that I got these through mutual friends and relationships. Best way to go. You get better results and you get stronger clients, especially like word of mouth in marketing and sales. Word of mouth marketing is ideally the best. This is what my dad taught me. My dad ran a small business, small havoc company in Florida, and he never advertised. And I'd asked him, why have you never advertised? And he's like, well, because like those clients aren't really the best clients, and they typically are very needy and they're very pushy and they want deals, versus like if I build a relationship, a client, he's had clients for 20 years that know him, that always call him first before anybody else. And they pay they pay like his prices. Like, he's not a very affordable, his company is not very affordable. It's actually maybe mid-level, maybe a little higher in certain areas, but they trust him and they know he's reliable and consistent and that he delivers results. So his company gets the contract every time because he built that relationship over time. And of course, when you're first starting out in sales and you're first starting out in marketing, maybe real estate or it may be any type of business, you're not going to be a super billionaire guy right away. You're not going to be an Andrew Tate. It takes time. It's a snowball. It just builds and builds and builds. It's just like investing. You put a little bit in, and over time it accumulates. It's just consistency and sticking to it. That's the best way I can describe it. All right, I don't want to get too far into this, but we're going to move on here. All right. And we went over what is Sigma leadership, self-awareness, consistency, authenticity, and calm execution. Leads through systems, not ego. All right. So we have the Sigma sales philosophy, and I'm going to get into this. Basically, the Sigma sales philosophy, like I said before, traditional sales is pushy, scripted, emotionally reactive, and short-term focused. They're not thinking about the long term. Okay, so let me bring this down. Good, that's what I need. 1 second. Let me get caught up here. So basically, the Sigma sales philosophy is lead without noise, sell without pressure, and build systems that outperform personalities. Those systems that I talked about, those systems, I gave you, an example. You're building relationships. You're in the relationship business. You're not in the sales business or the fast food business or anything have you. You're in the relationship business. You're building relationships. So understanding how to sell without pressure is data-driven, observational, process-focused, and long-term relationships. And the key lexicon here is long-term relationships. You're building long-term, lifelong relationships with clients. That's it. And let me get back. Let me get back to what is Sigma leadership. So, as I said before, Sigma leadership is self-awareness, consistency, authenticity, and calm execution under pressure. So, what are Sigma leaders are not attentive driven. They're not retroactive, and they're not dependent on validation, of course. So they're basically data driven, process orientated, and quietly dominant through results. The key concept here is personal mastery. So continuous self improvement, self awareness, i.e., deep thinking before action, and learning through observation and experience. So in sales, this means, like I said, you don't chase customers and you understand them better than they understand themselves because of what? Active listening. All right. Keep going in this. All right. So let's go on to this. So we have the DMAIC in sales. This is an acronym for define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. Control being scale success. So scalability, that lexicon means that you build that snowball over time. You're building up client list. You're building up your dominance in the region or in the marketplace. So we'll define this as under the customer plan is what we call define. So define meaning what does the customer actually need? It's very simple. Very simple. What does the customer actually need? Customer's going to tell you. The customer's going to tell you through survey, through questions, through conversation. You're going to have to actively listen. You're going to have to listen for details. Just like in ESL, you listen, you read for detail. In sales and client relations, you're listening for details. Some people may not come out right and say what exactly they need or what they want. Sometimes they don't even know what they need. They may not even know. You're going to have to help figure that out for them sometimes. Most people are pretty direct, and those are usually the easiest sales. That's the easiest way. That's the easiest close is the fact that people will. They know what they want. They come in, and you're like, yeah, it's in and out, done. We're good. But that's not going to happen 99% of the time. So also in define what is their pain point. So what is their need? Customer pain. What exactly is it that they have an issue or they have a need for? And this is where most companies and most salespeople fail. They just don't understand exactly what the customer needs. They're not listening. So plain and simply, they're not listening. And that's the thing about Sigma leader is Sigmas, they're very attentive to detail and they're observational. So above that, they're good listeners. They shut the fuck up. Plain and simple. They shut the fuck up and they listen. That's what defines them. That's what gives them the competitive edge in business and sales. So just listen to your customer. That's it. Listen for detail so that you can find their solution to their problem, their pain, customer's pain. Next is measure. So this is your analytics. So tracking behavior. This is buying patterns, objections, drop off points. So let's start with buying patterns. People have herd mentality, and in psychology, people generally are. I'm going to say consistent, but people generally follow the herd. And not only that, but they generally buy in patterns. They usually, this goes to like the addictive personality disorder and things of that nature, but people generally get consistent with how they buy and what they buy, and they get brand recognition. They get used to buying a particular type of product. It's called brand loyalty. But you've got to interrupt that, and you've got to explain to them why your brand is better than the other brand. And that is through active listening and objections that will come. Well, I can go with this, and this is a cheaper product. And you have to explain and you have to inform the potential client, the customer, why your product is better. But you don't have to be pushy about it. It's through the conversation over time. And hey, if they're not interested in buying it at that time, here's my business card, here's our website, we can talk later. And sometimes they come back, sometimes they buy. It depends on how personable you are, how authentic you are with that person. So then you have, like I said, the objections. Mostly, like I said, getting into that, it's these come up. Objections rather, is more of just finding reasons why your product or why your service or you can fulfill the needs that they need. That's it. It's just where's their pain and how can I stop the pain? How can I soothe the pain? How can I help you? You can help me and I can help you. It's a mutual, it's a, what do we call it? It's the word I'm looking for. Sorry. It's basically a symbiotic relationship. So um, you're working together towards the same goal, same vision. So you're not measuring, you're guessing per se in this measure. So, and the thing is you have the analytics. So like if you're doing like online marketing, online sales, you're already going to have the analytics. You're already going to have the data. And through that data, that's where the confidence comes in. If you're able to read the quantitative data from the analytics, and you already have the possible objections in place, and the individual is giving you all their information, usually through the analytics or through a questionnaire, you're already going to have the ammunition in order to sell them on a product or close. It's really that simple. And it just takes time of practice. That's where the consistency comes in as a Sigma leader. So next we have analyze. Why are customers hesitating? Customers are hesitating for generally like two reasons. They don't trust you and they don't have enough information. That's it. It's really that simple. They don't trust you because they don't know you. And that's where the personable, that's where that Sigma leader comes in, where they're authentic and you're having a conversation, you're building a relationship. That eliminates that. Then they don't have enough information. Well, the whole point of you shutting the fuck up and actually listening to these people, listening to this customer, listening to this potential client, is so that you can gain information on what their needs are and be able to fulfill those needs. And if you can't fulfill those needs, then they don't qualify. They're not a qualified customer. They're at this time the relationship is not conducive for you, both of you. So it's not a big deal. It doesn't mean that you have to tell them to fuck off or anything. It just means that unfortunately, they're not qualified for the product or service that you're providing. Doesn't mean that you don't have to stop any type of potential relationship, because they may have somebody else that may have may have a need and may qualify for the particular product or service. So you just give them your business card and you said, hey, we'll keep in touch, man, no big deal. And they'll probably tell someone. That person calls you and says, that's happened to me many times. Person calls and is like, hey, my brother cousin was telling me about this, and he said that you have a service that you could provide, and like he said you're a really nice guy, and like he like can we meet sometime and discuss like what your product is or what your service is, and we can see. And that's a word of mouth sale. And what's the likelihood of that sale closing? As long as you can come to a price, an agreement, and the need is there, and they obviously you can fill that, your sales are probably a high 98%, very high, very likely. That's a strong lead. Now we have like basically what frictions exist. Um, Frictions are person may not like your personality. That's where friction is. You got past the trust and information. Now it just means they just may not like you in particular. Could be cultural, could be racially biased, could be just your personality. That's in that situation, no big deal. Give it off to another sales guy. Be like, hey, this guy is definitely qualified. I don't think that we're gonna be able to build a relationship. Just personality conflict, something. Why don't you give them a call? And then just give me a percentage of whatever you get on that lead. And then you can negotiate that with other salespeople. So you have them go and they talk, and then they could close. Say you're not getting anywhere with this person. You're not building any type of meaningful conversation or relationship. Just like, hey, just give it to a friend, a colleague, or another salesperson, and have them approach it, and they may have better results. Like I said, this happens. It happens in any type of relationship, man. Any type of sales interaction or anything. It's not a big deal. So Sigma sellers identify patterns and not excuses. Is the takeaway here under analyze. That's it. I mean, I can't explain any other way. They see the patterns. They see what the general census is. They already know the objections because people are herd mentality, and they generally kind of go with the herd. So that's why you have these like viral videos. That's why you have these influencers that all of a sudden become out of nowhere, because people are hurting in and they're like, hey, did you hear about this? And the word of mouth flows like fire, man. It's the whole point of viral. So it's the same thing in sales. Something cool, something's coming out, something new. People like it. It's building a presence, and it just builds from there. All right, next we're going to talk about improve. So this is optimized process. So this is refined pitch, remove friction, and simply simplified decision making. Really, this comes down to experience and deductive reasoning, right? So you have a pitch, it may be way too long, or the pitch may not be fine tuned right. You may not be approaching it correctly. It's having people are like, I don't know if I trust this or trust this guy, or I mean, the whole thing's in the pitch. And the pitch, like I said, it's more, I say, building relationships as a Sigma leader. Other sales, people may say you got 5 seconds to sell this person to get them interested. The hook, if you will. No, I definitely think the hook is finding a mutual conversation, mutuality, finding something that you both are interested in that you can talk about, and then that removes the friction, and then it simplifies the decision making because you've built trust, and you've built you're starting to build a relationship, and relationships build over time. So just because what I mean, like it doesn't necessarily mean that the person's going to buy right then and there, but they will probably buy eventually later on, and that relationship will grow over time. It's just like any type of like friendship, romantic relationship, anything. It's going to build over time, and sometimes you're just not a fit. So like with relationships, like it could be a professional relationship at a workplace, could be like a romantic relationship or a friendship. Sometimes you get friction, and it just personality, you grow apart, and it's just like, hey, no hard feelings, and then you move on. You may come back later, and yeah, I've had that before in my life. So all right, finally we have control. This is scalable success. So you're going to build repetitive systems, and you're going to standardize the success. It's very simple. You're gonna stick to what works, and you're gonna eliminate what doesn't work. It's that simple. This is how scale. This is how scale. Sorry. This is how you scale sales. This is how you grow business. This is how you grow your brand. You basically build a repeatable system that works, and stay consistent with it, and don't deviate. Make adjustments here and there if you need to, but main thing is you're going to streamline. You're going to standardize what's working. What's not working, you eliminate it. It's that simple. All right. So let's get into case studies. So we have a case study of Blockbuster Video. I'm going to check and see if I've got anyone's still there. All right, cool. So wait 1 second. Let me pull this up. Room not found. What the hell's going on here? Anyway. All right. So Blockbuster Video versus Netflix. This is a really good case study, and this kind of demonstrates. It's in chapter 1, and it explains basically how sales and leadership failures occur. And this is a business to business sales. Sales, I would say, business to business relationship building or sales building. Um, Blockbuster Video basically ignored change. The breakdown of this case study. If you want to read further into it, it's in the book in chapter 1. Netflix solved customer pain, and lesson: adapt or fail. That's it. That's Sigma mindset, man. Consistency, self awareness, and you know, yeah, personal mastery. So what Blockbuster Video did wrong in this particular case study? They ignored customer pain, late fees. And if you read the case study, you're able to get into the first chapter. Late fees are the reason why Blockbuster Video failed as a company. I mean, at first, like I said, I think it was like 80%. It was like over 75% of their sales was from late fees. That's basically where most of their revenue had come in for Blockbuster. And if you guys remember, you guys that are older, like X Gens or even Boomers that are actually following the content, and millennials know, there was a Blockbuster Video on like every street corner. It was all over North America. It was very scalable. It was one of the most successful media companies in the United States in the 80s and 90s. So, reason why it failed, like I said, Netflix in the early stages was a startup. This was the heat of the dot-com bubble, like 1990s, and basically the CEO at the time went to the CEO of Blockbuster Video, and he had said, "Hey, I got a great idea. Let's send DVDs to people's homes. They can hold it for 30 days, no late fees, and they can return it when they want. And it'll help expand your digital footprint at home, so people don't have to go to retail spaces. So it can lower the cost for overhead, and lower the cost for these big block or sorry, what are these called? Retail stores rather. And eventually we could go to streaming, and then we can expand. It's scalable." And Blockbuster Video was CEO at the time was like, this does not seem like a good business plan or a good business strategy, because most of our revenue comes from late fees, and this is our business plan for now, and I don't think this is going to be fruitful. I just don't see it, because eliminating late fees will eliminate most of our revenue, and it's not a very good. Don't think it's a very good business idea. So they refused the invitation, and they wanted to just protect the short term profits instead of thinking about longevity. And above all, the CEO was not self aware, because if he would have been self aware, he would have realized that customers of Blockbuster Video at the time, that's the number one complaint they were having, is the late fees. People were pissed because of these late fees, and they didn't want to pay them, because some people had late fees like in the hundreds of dollars, somewhere in thousands of dollars of late fees, and they couldn't rent from any Blockbusters as a chain, and they were all under the same system, so they couldn't rent movies. And Blockbuster Video had a monopoly in this regard. And because they couldn't rent movies, they basically lost that customer dissatisfaction, or as we say, they ignored customer pain. So what Netflix did is they identified the pain point, which i.e. was the late fees, and they eliminate that friction by eliminating late fees on DVD, business to customer, home delivery of movies. And they use that data to guide decisions, and that's why Netflix is one of the largest corporations right now in the world, and they're their scalability was unbelievable. They're a global wide multinational now. Blockbuster Video was just North America, Canada, and the United States. So obviously Netflix won. Let's break down the Sigma breakdown of this. So the phase is defined. Blockbuster ignored pain. Netflix identified late fees, which was the pain. How it was measured. Blockbuster Video, no data use. They ignored the data, the complaints, the customer complaints. Netflix tracked that behavior because it's an online company, and most of the complaints were online, because this became the 90s, the .com, and people were in chat rooms and people were starting to post online. And the boomers that ran Blockbuster Video did not think, how can we use the internet to our advantage? And this goes into effective communication, social feedback loop, if you will. Netflix was able to track that behavior, and they said, hey, you have a problem. And they were nice enough to go to Blockbuster Video and say, hey, you have a problem. This is how we can solve your problem. And Blockbuster ignored that. So Netflix took advantage, and they shouldn't even do anything. They should have just let Blockbuster fall flat in its face, and they should have just got venture capitalists, which they end up doing anyway, to start the Netflix franchise, which we know Netflix today is the streaming service. They even make their own movies now and TV shows. So where's the analyst, the analytical, or how we analyze this? Blockbuster, no adaptation. They did not adapt, and like I said, in the business world, if you do not adapt, you die. You're a dinosaur, and that's what Blockbuster Video was. It was a dinosaur. Netflix saw digital shift. They prepared for it. They executed, and they informed Blockbuster, hey, we can help you. And they ignored them. And they were like, fuck you then. We're good. We'll start our own company. How the Sigma breakdown of phase of improvement, self-improvement, personal mastery. Yeah. Blockbuster was too late. They ended up merging, I think, with some Dish network or something in nature, and I think DirecTV. And it just they ended up going into streaming, and it was just way too late. Nobody wanted it. Netflix saw the digital shift, so they built streaming, and that's how we know them today as a streaming service. They're the leading streamer, and then everybody else, all the legacy brands like Disney and these movie houses and whatnot, they MGM and all these companies, HBO, so on and so forth, they had to adapt, and they basically went off of Netflix set the precedent. They set the standard in the industry, and then all the legacy brands had to follow. Netflix became the Sigma leader and the digital age in regards to media and streaming. Where's the control? Blockbuster, no system. They did not have a system established. Their system was North America. It was already scaled to the maximum ability that it could for what business strategy they had set up, what their core values, their core business strategy was established. They were a legacy brand. they expanded, and their scalability was as large as it could go, and it couldn't expand any further because it's kind of difficult with the regulations to put this in like Europe or somewhere else. It's a totally different monster altogether. So the scalability, Netflix scaled globally. They became a multinational company as a result. Key lessons here: the market doesn't reward effort; it rewards alignment with customer reality. The customer's always right. If you guys ever heard that before, and in this instance, the customer was right, and they ended up leaving in Blockbuster and going to Netflix in droves. All right, let's go to the next one. Signal leaders, system architects. So signal leaders are not just leaders; they're system architects. Like I said, because they're self-aware, they're consistent, and above all, they are. It is what it is. They are a very small minority of leaders in the business world and leadership in general. So the thing about the signal leaders is they eliminate waste, they empower people, they streamline communications because they're effective communicators, and continuous improvement. Continuous improvement is a key aspect of business strategy, and continuous improvement is the consistency that we talk about in signal leadership style. So let's go over the core responsibilities. Eliminating waste. These are bad strategies. So eliminating waste, such as bad strategies, inefficient processes, and misaligned goals. And like I said, using Blockbuster as an example, as a case study, bad strategies. What was the bad strategy with this waste? The bad strategy of eliminating waste was not streamlining late fees. They should have come to a new type of strategy where, okay, you get one late fee, and that's it. And if you don't, like you should have used digital media, like sending automatic emails. Hey, you have a late fee. If you bring it back, we can refund the late fee as long as you bring it back within the next 3 days or something of that nature. Or like if they have multiple late fees on one video, they can streamline it to, we'll round this to one late fee, just don't do it again, that sort of thing. So then there's inefficient processes. So this is, like I said, the inefficiency of a Blockbuster is the fact that the whole reason for the late fees was because they had a limited amount of DVDs and videos that they can rent out to certain retail locations. Netflix streamlined it, so they had a warehouse where in a distribution, like in an algorithm, where they can push these out everywhere, and it wasn't that big a deal because it was coming from a central hub. This comes down to logistics and streamlining those operations. Blockbuster was more, their strategy was more local based versus Netflix was more national based. So they had a central hub where they can distribute these versus Blockbuster only was able to put out certain amount of DVDs per location, which is why they had late fees. Misaligned goals. The misaligned goals is that Blockbuster was more looking towards a North American marketplace, as opposed to Netflix was looking more to expanding to a higher scale, to scalable, to a multinational base. Because the English speaking world was developing during the 80s and 90s. This is where English language started to expand, and technology, like I said, with DVD players and different types of medium, especially with streaming. They saw it before it was coming. They saw where it was going, and they made the right decision and the prediction based on where the direction of technology, smartphones and things of that nature. Let's go to streamlined communication, clear messaging, no ambiguity, and no emotional confusion. That's it. Main thing is just communicating for detail and keeping things, making sure that the messaging is clear and that there's no ambiguity in in this regard, like wasteful conversations. So just, this is what I need: direct communication. I need this, and this. Can you clarify that you have you understand? Yes, I understand. All right, good. And emotional confusion is getting heated in your communication. So, um, you know, being being neutral in tone and just plain and simply, this is the clear terms, not trying to be ambiguous or any type of how would I explain this? Like the legal jargon, blah 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 blah. It's mostly just filler words. You just want to keep simple language, keep it simple, and communicate to get to a solution rather than create more problems. That's about it. So we have empowerment of talent. This is human capital, autonomy, and accountability. A lot of people don't like to be told what to do. This is pretty simple. I mean, especially the Zoomers and the millennials, they don't really like being told what to do. They like a little bit more autonomy. The boomers and X gens a little bit more. They're okay being told what to do, and they respect certain hierarchies and leadership. But generally, the younger generations, like I said, Zoomers and millennials, they like to have some sense of like the empowerment in the sense of they want to be accountable for themselves. They want to have autonomy in the sense that they want to work on their own. They want to have the ability to make input, meaningful input, and they don't mind working in groups like project management based, but they want to have individual um, responsibilities within that group setting. Versus the boomers or the X gens, they're just like, just tell me what to do and I'll do it. That's it. They're less collaborative than the younger generations. So then there's the accountability. Like I said, younger generations, they want more accountability. They want more autonomy. They don't necessarily want to be just told what to do. They don't want it to be micromanaged. Then you have trained decision makers, and then you not followers, basically. So you want to create among your followers or among your entry level employees. You want to get them up to date to where they can start working autonomously, so they can do it on their own. So you don't have to spend your time managing and instructing and you know what I mean, like leading people in this capacity. You could dedicate that to other things that are you can expand. This is the scalability as well, so you can dedicate that to other things that will help build that company and that organization at a much faster rate. This is a lot like this particular type of approach is what Google has used, what Microsoft, more so like Apple and Google, use this type of leadership style and management style. They put autonomy, they give it autonomy and accountability to, their entry level people, their interns, and lower middle management, so that they can make decisions right then and there. And on top of that, they train these individuals to become managers because of the scalability. So the further a lot of these .com companies, especially Netflix, as they continue to expand in the this multinational context and this global wide corporation organization, they're going to need managers, and it's better to hire people from within than it is to hire from people outside the organization. This is because of the company culture, um, systems, and way of doing things. That's it. I mean, you're going to have to train someone on all that. That's going to take extra time and patience to go through that. So it's easier if you just promote from within. And that's basically what a lot of startups do, that gain huge scalability and success over time. Amazon, Google, Netflix, all of these. Yeah. So to empower talent basically is you want to train leaders and you don't want followers. You want people to take initiative. That's basically about it. That's the Sigma leadership style. And then you have the Keynesian continuous improvement. This is a Japanese leadership style or management style. Toyota is most rapidly known for this type of management structure. So this is small, consistent upgrades over time and never static. So basically, you're making adjustments as you go. Um, and this could be in your Sigma leadership style as well, and your personal leadership and growth, is that you're making adjustments as you get new information. So this is why Sigma leaders are very observant and they're consistent, and they make adjustments as they go. Um, just That's basically about it. Continuous improvement. This is personal mastery and self awareness to its T. So the critical insight here is that weak leaders manage people. Sigma leaders design systems that make people better. They improve themselves as well as other people, and they lead by example. It's the best way I can describe that. Let's go to the next slide. So we have leadership comparison. This is authentic, servant, and Sigma. These are three different types of leadership styles. The Sigma leadership style, like I said, it's a hybrid between authentic and servant leadership. If you read the book, you'll see how I break this down as well. So let's start off with authentic leadership style. This is honest but honest but unstructured. So basically, the authentic leader, their strength is honesty and transparency. Their weakness is they lack structure because they put emphasis on autonomy and their followers to lead. Because that's the authentic way. Servant leadership, their strength is empathy and people first. So they put their followers first, and that's generally how their leadership style is structured. Their weakness is that they can lack execution. As far as a servant leader, how is the Sigma leader separate from these? And these are these are pretty good leadership styles. They are successful, but I have created a new leadership style that like I said, that I coined the Sigma leadership style, and it's an integrated model between these two type of styles. So they combine emotional intelligence, authentic and servant leadership. That's how they're combined with operational excellence, systems, and data. So what separates the Sigma leadership style from authentic and servant leadership style is Sigma picks up where authentic leadership lacks structure, and they pick up where servant leadership can lack execution. That's the difference between these three different leadership styles. If you read the book, it does break this down a little bit further, and I'm still updating the book, so these things will change over time because this is theory based. There is some practicality to it. I give case studies in this as well, like the Netflix and Blockbuster, but it's an ongoing theoretical leadership style. All right, so the final truth here: empathy without systems fail, systems without empathy collapse, and Sigma leadership balances both basically. And that's why I push this type of leadership style, and like I said, I continually evolve it. And as I continue to study this type of leadership style that I've coined, this is basically it in a nutshell. All right, where are we at? The next slide. All right, so our key takeaways here, the Sigma standard, as I'm calling it. We have sales equal problem solving, leadership equals system design, consistency beats intensity, data beats emotion. So the future leader, our future leaders of America or the world, the global marketplace, if you will, data literature or data literate. So you need to understand the information. You need to understand the analytics. You need to understand how systems work. This is the quantitative, process driven. How this data is used, how these analytics are used in practice in the field, and emotionally intelligent, knowing your followers, knowing your customer, knowing the marketplace, and adjusting and adapting to changes in the market conditions, changes in like I said, like crisis management. I talk about this in other chapters as well. And then adaptive under pressure, where this ties into. So being able to adapt to crises. COVID was a good example of this. Like this is a recent one that most people that are following here, regardless if you're Zoomer, millennial, Action, or Boomer, we've all dealt with this in the recent phenomenon. So being able to adapt under those types of crises and pursue and be successful, especially in the business setting. It really affected business, small businesses especially. So our final key takeaways: sales is not persuasive; it's problem solving. You're solving the customer's problem. In order to solve their problem, you have to listen. You have to listen actively for details to find the solution to their problem. Leadership is not personality; it's a system design. Plain and simply, as I've been talking about this masterclass. Customers don't care about your product; they care about friction. So understand what I broke down with that in the beginning of the masterclass. Customers care about you as they're buying the product is not so much the importance here. It's the brand, and the brand is you. You are the brand. You are an ambassador of the brand, and they're buying from you, not necessarily the product. Because it's a lot. This is where the emotion comes in. The psychology of it is that you're building the relationship to build authenticity and to build a relationship, long-term relationship with the customer. This is where Apple comes in. Apple's a good case study or good example. People have brand loyalty to Apple may not necessarily be. I mean, they make good quality machines and they're consistent. They're usually pretty good on warranty issues. But most importantly, people resonate with Apple as a trustworthy legacy brand, and it's consistent. And this is where I get into consistency beats intensity every time. Be consistent, be consistent, be consistent, be consistent. That's it. It's that simple. Silence plus precision equals noise or beats noise and emotion, basically. So that's basically it. Is that being silent and observant, and precision being precise, effective communication, saying what needs to be said, not just saying shit just to fill words or fill silence. This will beat noisy Andrew Tate types that just say the same shit over and over again, and it gets boring. And they're emotional, you know. Yeah. Final quote: in a noisy world driven by ego, the signal leader wins through silent precision, disciplined systems, and unwavering execution. That's a quote from my book. Um, yeah, and that's about it. What we got here? I think I have more slides. I think we're done here. Oh, final thoughts. Yeah, there's my final thoughts. Yeah. Silent precision, discipline systems, outform noise, ego. And thank you guys for the joining me on the masterclass. I'm going to open up any questions if there's anybody that wants to. Um, there we go. Oh, solo. Anybody that has any questions, you're welcome to ask now. Let me see if I got this. I don't see any. No questions. No questions. Yeah, if there's new questions, waiting. Yeah, I don't see any. All right, well, I'm going to end it there then. Thanks, guys, for joining me on this masterclass, book club volume 1 on the Sigma leadership. Unleash your inner Sigma male, and we'll be meeting for chapter 2, as I said before, within a week or two, or if we might get into the Brave New World. It all depends on what you guys want me to go over, or I might do both. I don't know, but meet me again for book club volume 2. And I think I've been on for an hour, and that's about it. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. And I think I'm going to sign off here. Let me end this.